Hey guys, Scott Patton here. You know, I'm out here getting things ready for my guide trip tomorrow here on Chickamauga. But, you know, we're always thinking about what baits we can use and, you know, something, you know, how other ways we can catch fish. But, you know, really there's one bait that really gets overlooked in the fall. It's used a lot in the springtime, and that's a swim jig. You know, this time of year, especially on lakes, you know, I'll throw a swim jig around docks. I'll throw it around treetops. It was a great bait to throw around treetops where you can get in there real tight. You may not get a chatterbait or spinnerbait in there tight, but you can get a swim jig in there real good. And also if you're fishing grass or grass that's breaking up and dying this time of year, we'll start having more of that. And have those patches of grass, and you can throw that swim jig right in there and bring that in. It's more subtle, especially on the days you may not have the wind or cloud cover. If you're fishing lakes that have clear water, it's a good bait to have tied on to fish around this kind of cover. And you know, there's several different colors. You know, they're just like, you know, chatterbaits or spinner baits. You know, this is one of my favorite here as far as a brim color right here. I'm not sure who makes this one right here, but that's a good color. I buy a lot of these down here at Okeechobee. But I use a lot of bluegill colors this time of year also. That's the one I tied up with just a green pumpkin with June bug in it. That's been a real good color for me. And then of course another bluegill color is green pumpkin or chartreuse. If I have a little bit of stained, I'll throw that right there too. But you know, day in and day out, it's probably going to be a shad pattern. Okay, this one right here, you know, the skirt's a little bit long on it, so I'm going to trim that skirt up just a little bit. And a lot of times you're really going to trim that up depending on the type trailer you're going to put on it. And speaking of trailers, that's a very important choice when you're choosing a swim jig. And you're going to have to try a variety of different trailers in order to see what the fish are going to react to. So just because you tie on one trailer doesn't mean that that's what the fish are going to eat. You know, I've had times where I may throw something like this is Zoom's Z-Crawl. I've thrown that on there before and they won't eat it. But if I would switch over to something like a paddle tail, then I start getting my bites. So you really got to choose what profile trailer and what action the trailer has on a swim jig, because really, other than the skirt, a lot of your action is going to come out of your trailer. So be aware of that, you guys, okay? You know, I love this Z-Crawl. I use this a lot, you know, here on Chickamauga. I use it also a lot on Okeechobee. I've used it in black and blue a lot on Okeechobee with a black and blue swim jig. Catch a lot of big fish on it. But again, I got two different size Z-Crawls here, you guys. That's a junior and that's a standard. You see the difference in it? So you can rig that swim bait up with the small, you know, the smaller one. I could even trim that skirt up a little bit more to get a tighter, more compact profile. Depending on the lake you're fishing, what size fish are in there, and depending on what kind of bait you got in the areas or in the lake that you're fishing. So you can see that right there. Real good profile. It's small, compact. It could be good, real good in clear water. You know, especially if I'm fishing a lake that don't have a lot of, you know, 6-7 pound fish on it, I may go to that smaller swim jig because of the size fish that you're fishing for and the size food that they're usually looking at themselves. Okay, but I got that rigged up there, and I will also, now on the black and blue, you know, this is a Reactions skinny dipper. Great trailer to put on a swim jig. Use them a lot down in Okeechobee. So, you know, it's a big profile, but that tail's got a real good tight action to it, so it's a real good one to throw. Again, you see my skirt's not the way I want it, so I'm going to trim it. All right, I'm going to hold before I break that off. I'm going to hold that up there to make sure I got that profile I want, so I know about where that hook's going to go. Okay, so about right there, the gill plate on that swim bait is where I want that to be. I'm going to cut that off. It's very important to thread that up straight. I try to go pretty much dead in the middle of the plastic. Fish it back out. You want this thing running dead true. You're going to get a better action out of it. So you see that right there. You see the profile on that versus one with more of the two legs kicking, Z-Crawl and the swim bait tail. So, you know, I just want to throw this out here at you guys. You know, fall is you know, a lot of times the bite can be tough. You know, You got a lot of changes in weather conditions and changes in water conditions. So sometimes throwing this bait here, and plus it's a bait that probably a lot of guys are not going to throw. When you're fishing some of these lakes, they're heavily pressured, and most of them are nowadays. You got to think what other guys may not be throwing, because a lot of times you can go behind guys and catch fish. So it's just a tip I want to throw out there. In the fall, you may want to try throwing some swim jigs out there, you guys. Okay, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate all you guys following along. Leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite swim jig is, and we'll see you guys on the water. Thank you.